A man in New York named Eric Feight was sentenced to 8 years in prison today for helping another man plot to kill Muslims with a mobile death ray machine. We covered this story on The Lip when it first broke quite a while ago, but I want to go back and revisit this because the guy's finally getting his sentence in. If you guys didn't see that first report, let me give you guys some backstory here. So he agreed, I'm talking about Eric Feight, he agreed to make a remote control, kind of like the controller for this death ray machine. He was assisting a man named Glendon Scott Crawford, who's actually building the device. He nicknamed the device the Baby, and what the Baby is an industrial-grade, huge X-ray machine. I doubt it looked like that, but very similar. So he was going to drive around the Albany, New York area and basically point this death ray X-ray machine emitting high radiation at anyone they suspected was a Muslim. So I want to add here, before I throw it to you, Jose, that Glendon Scott Crawford, the mastermind, the evil scientist behind the death ray, was a KKK member, and that was his intentions. Do you think, for the guy, Eric Feight, who is making the controller for this, do you think 8 years is enough? Because we're talking about indiscriminately shooting X-rays at people, trying to give them radiation. You don't know who they are, what they're about. You're just assuming that they're Muslim. Is 8 years enough for that, something like that?
I think it's very little for the level of stupidity that they're showing. Not only let's for a moment set aside the racism and their link to the KKK and the level of improbability that these guys were able to come up with such device. But to see that at the heart of it, we do see how clueless they are of how things work and that they can actually be able to pull this off. And I'm glad to see that we talk about it and that the judges, they do this sentencing. But 8 years, it's hard. It's a hard sentencing because in one way it's like so far out of it being a reality, but in the other hand, you have a real intent to harm people based on their race.
Yeah, it's
terrorism. And I think that in itself is worth more than 8 years. Especially at a time where we're living right now, where the Islamophobia is growing and growing. Now, on the funny side, how funny it is that right before the premiere of the new Star Wars, they come up with the sentencing of the death ray.
Yeah, they're very ironic. But for me, perhaps the silliest part, if there even is a silly part, because this is an extremely scary story, was the fact that the way that they got caught was they went to Jewish leaders in the community of Albany, New York, and were looking for financial support. And they say, "Oh, let's go talk to the Jews. They'll give us some money to do this." So they go over there, and the Jews are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" These Jewish community leaders are like, "What the hell?" So they call the cops.
Like, hear me out. Right. Hear me out. I have this laser that we can build, and I can take care of the Muslim
thinking the
problem.
Jewish community leaders are going to be like, listening. Okay, go on. Okay, so what they do is they call the cops, and then we have FBI come in posing as KKK members and listen to these guys talking about everything they're going to do. They actually had them on tape talking about how they're going to go around shooting Muslims and everyone else that they don't like with this death ray X-ray machine. So 8 years for Mr. Feight. I don't know about Mr. Crawford yet. His sentence will be announced soon. I'm sure he'll have a much longer prison time. Without a doubt. But I'm glad to see these two guys off the streets. That's 2 less votes for Donald Trump, that's for sure.